As the Boston Bruins keep making us wait for a new head coach, today we're discussing whether or not they should go big in a trade and target Elias Pettersson, Jason Robertson, or Martin Necas.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things spoke to be. Today is Wednesday, June 4th. Thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's probably not your first listen today. I apologize for this podcast being a bit later than usual. I was all day at my kid's track meet. Thought he might want to jet after running 2,400 meters total between 3 races, but he decided to stick around and we watched his friends continue to go. Super hot day, sweating. Now there's a storm rolling in as we discuss here the Boston Bruins. Now, like I said off the top, we're going to talk about some intriguing possible trade options on today's episode of the podcast in Elias Pettersson from the Vancouver Canucks, Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, Martin Necas of the Colorado Avalanche. This is all coming as we continue to wait for a new head coach announcement. Could come as early as, well, any time now, but in the meantime, let's talk about this. Before we get into all that, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins, Blue Sky, X, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and you can find me, my Hoggy Thoughts, Dad Jokes, at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan, and I've been covering this team for various outlets for about 20 years now. So the Bruins have some cap space available this summer, a need to solidify the top 6. They're in a position to make perhaps a big free agent signing come July 1st, or prior to that, a major trade. There's 3 intriguing targets that are being named on target boards or trade boards from the Athletic, Sportsnet, Daily Faceoff, etc. And we're going to explore the pros and cons and the likelihood of each deal. Let's start with the Vancouver Canucks, Elias Pettersson. He's been showing up on these trade boards, and insiders suggest Vancouver could be open to listening, especially before his no-move clause kicks in on July 1st. Combine that with his drop in production and the tension that arose last season with JT Miller before he was sent to the New York Rangers, and the door might be cracked open for a team to swing in here and pick up a guy who's had a 100-point season, and it can be a number 1 center. Now, the pros for Boston, just that. He's one of a few young centers who can drive a line, play responsibly in his own zone, like some Bergeron-like structure with much more offensive flash. He's only 25 years old, the perfect age to build around, and he would complement the Bruins core of David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, and Jeremy Swayman. He could easily slot in with Morgan Geekie, David Pastrnak on the top line, provided Geekie is, of course, re-signed. And although Elias Lindholm looked good in that slot to end the season, you want that, like, surefire number 1 center there, which he can be. He immediately would solve Boston's number 1 center problem. Adding another weapon on the half wall on the power play, and could open up more movement for David Pastrnak to find some open looks as well. So those are some of the pros in terms of acquiring a player like Elias Pettersson. Still well in his prime and has a history of big numbers at the NHL level. Kind of fell off a bit this season. Well, not a bit. Pretty big, actually. Going from 102 points in 2022-23, 89 points 2 regular seasons ago, and then 45 points in 64 games. And that brings us to a big con. He's got a massive contract. 8 years, $11.6 million AAV that kicked in this past season. So in the first year of that massive deal, he popped in 45 points, 15 goals. That is not good enough when you're being paid $11.6 million per season. So that is a big red flag. But you have to believe that a player of his pedigree can indeed refine his form, perhaps with a change of scenery coming over to Boston. But that's a huge con. Again, he's entering the second year of an 8-year deal that pays him $11.6 million per season for the foreseeable future. That's one of the highest cap hits in the NHL. And it's going to cost you as well. Vancouver will probably ask for Mason Lohrei, one of Matt Poitras or Fraser Minton, first-round pick, maybe even more. And between Pettersson and Pastrnak, you're locking in nearly $24 million for 2 forwards. Add in Jeremy Swayman's contract, Charlie McAvoy, and you start to wonder if you can add the necessary depth to build a contender. That 45-point campaign wasn't what you want to see from someone entering a big contract either. So if Pettersson is truly available, the Bruins probably have to check in on it. They have the cap space, they have the prospects, but the risk is real. So is the reward potentially. This could be a franchise-altering move, one way or another, right? Like if it works out, you're laughing. But if you're paying a big trade return and taking on that cap hit for a guy who's coming off a very down season, like less than half of his career high, that's a huge concern. And we're probably going to err on the side of no when it comes to this one. But it's certainly something worth considering. Other 2 guys that may be available, Jason Robertson from the Dallas Stars, Martin Necas from the Colorado Avalanche. We'll discuss those 2 guys here as the podcast continues. If you're looking for a snack that is both nutritious and delicious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. But if you love cracking into every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are also a classic favorite. Get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, another guy whose name is popping up on the trade boards is Jason Robertson. The Dallas Stars were bounced from the Stanley Cup playoffs by the Edmonton Oilers, and tied in with that is the possibility that head coach Pete DeBoer or assistant coach Misha Donskov could be made available by the Stars. And maybe that's why we're currently seeing this delay. It's been like over a week now since there was that report that Marco Sturm was going to be the next head coach of the Boston Bruins. It's apparently been narrowed down to Sturm, Mitch Love, Jay Leach. Maybe the delay is waiting to see if Pete DeBoer is let go or if Misha Donskov is going to make the trip over to Boston. But on the ice, Jason Robertson is a proven scorer who fits exactly what Boston lacks. A great game-breaking forward who can bury chances, extend offensive zone time, and produce under pressure. He signed at a very reasonable cap hit, which I believe is $7.75 million, but only for one more season. So that's a bit of a con. We'll touch on that here in a minute. But right now, he's signed for one more year at a manageable cap hit. Dallas may be hesitant to part with him, but the reports are that they're looking to do this as a possible cap management move or whatever. You'd think they'd not lose one of their top players. He's got consistent production coming off a season in which he recorded 35 goals, 45 assists. Last season, 29 goals, 51 assists. 2 seasons ago, he had 46 goals and 63 assists. A game-breaking player who's not a one-season wonder, although that 100-plus point season may be a bit of an outlier. He uses his frame and his hockey sense to dominate possession and generate high-danger looks. And he's affordable, very affordable for now, through 2025-26, $7.75 million on the same level as Elias Lindholm. So he could be a cap-friendly elite scorer and can slot next to maybe Lindholm and Pasternak, or try to get something going with Pavel Zacha or Casey Middlestat on the second line to spread things out and give them some depth scoring. Now, there is some question as to whether Dallas is shopping him, and any trade talks would have to start with a big payment from the acquiring team. The acquiring team. Again, think Lori, Patra, first-round pick at a minimum. And while he boosts scoring, he doesn't necessarily bring that center depth that you're still looking for. The Bruins do, however, need some help on the wings. Jake DeBrusk left, was never replaced, really. That was where they were pretty thin this past season. And adding that $7.75 million obviously takes a big chunk of your available cap space, and you're probably going to be on the hook for probably double-digit millions moving forward if you choose to re-sign him. He's not a liability defensively, really, but he doesn't bring the two-way impact that Pettersson might, or even Martin Necas, who we'll discuss here in a moment. If Dallas does think about making him available, Boston definitely should be on the phone. Now, if they hire DeBoer or Donskov, there are reports out there that some of these Stars players weren't huge fans of how DeBoer handled the decision to bench Jake Ottinger during the Western Conference final decisive game. There are some rumblings of discontent in those meetings. So would Robertson want to follow DeBoer or Donskov to Boston? I mean, who knows? Boston should definitely be on the phone, though, because he is the type of player, again, only 25 years old. He's got a 100-point season under his belt, 2 80-point campaigns in each of the last 2 seasons. He's a difference maker on and off the ice. He can be a real leader as well. In the playoffs, he has an ability to produce as well. He had 18 points 2 seasons ago, 16 points last playoff, only 6 points, limited to 11 games this time around. But still, the type of player that, while he doesn't solve your issues down the middle, he addresses one of the Bruins' biggest needs, which is a proven scorer, 100-point capabilities with 40-goal upside. Decent size, high hockey IQ, strong puck protection skills, and he would add instant firepower alongside David Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, whoever else is with the team. Dallas isn't desperate to move him, though, and it probably would require a king's ransom to get him. They might want to go bigger or focus on the center position. Top prospects would likely be involved. He's a high-end winger who could thrive in Boston's system, but unless Dallas really pivots towards a big shakeup, it's a bit of a long shot. So if Pettersson is too pricey, Robertson's unlikely. That leaves one name who probably is the most gettable and who could make a pretty big impact, and that's Martin Necas of the Colorado Avalanche, and we'll discuss him here as the podcast continues. This past season, the Boston Bruins were active trading with the Colorado Avalanche, and that involved sending Charlie Coyle to Denver in exchange for Casey Middlestat and prospect Will Zellers. We haven't really talked about Zellers enough on this podcast yet, but he's a highly touted prospect, and that was a great trade for Don Sweeney. Martin Necas was traded to Colorado in the Mikko Rantanen trade that did not pay off. Well, didn't pay off for the Avalanche, certainly, as they were bounced in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he is signed to a very reasonable contract here for the next couple of years. Actually, one more year at $6.5 million. He was a 12th overall pick by Carolina back in 2017. And notably, he's a native of Czechia, which Czech obviously matches with the hometown of, or the home country of David Pastrnak. He is a guy who can play center or wing. And this past season, he had 55 points in 49 games with Carolina, and then 28 points in 30 games with Colorado. Now, the Avalanche just re-signed Brock Nelson today to a $7.5 million contract, which means Nečas could be, again, like Robertson, a bit of a cap casualty. They currently only have $1.2 million in projected cap space. And Nečas is the fourth highest paid forward on this team. Now, that's provided Gabe Landeskog, who came back for the playoffs, is looking to resume his career. That would leave them with very little cap space to re-sign Jonathan Drouin and round out their defense core. So Nečas could be on the block. And he has the speed and the skill. Like, he's a transition monster with great zone entries, passing vision, penalty kill upside as well. And maybe the cost wouldn't be astronomical. You could land him for maybe a Lysell in a first rounder or a mid-tier prospect. He's a very good player, but he's not like a superstar in terms of Jason Robertson or Elias Pettersson. Put him with David Pastrnak, though. Give him top line minutes and power play time, and he could really pop. He's played down the middle, not consistently. But again, with David Pastrnak, he could be a first-line center. And before being traded to Colorado this season, I mean, he really did pop with, like I said, what was it? 55 points in 49 games for Colorado. Like Robertson, he only has 1 year remaining on his contract. You're hoping that he has perhaps some more consistent upside. You're not acquiring like a proven star, perhaps like Robertson or Pettersson, but he might be the most realistic trade option of the three. Might not change the franchise overnight, but he's a cost-effective, young guy who could thrive with more responsibility, especially alongside David Pastrnak. He's a smart ad if you're not ready to necessarily go all in on a Martin Pettersson. So, to sum it all up, the Bruins have cap space. They have some prospect capital now, draft capital, a clear need in their top six. And that makes them a legitimate threat to make a major trade this offseason. Whether it's a franchise-changing swing for Elias Pettersson, a proven scorer like Jason Robertson, or a smart value play like Martin Necas, Don Sweeney has options. Pettersson might be the dream scenario. A young, elite center under long-term contract control who could fill the Bergeron-sized hole down the middle. Vancouver may be listening ahead of his no-move clause kicking in. The opportunity isn't impossible. The price would be steep, but the upside is unmatched. Having said that, the calamity possibilities are also high. If you're acquiring a guy who's only going to top out at around 50 points and he's making $11.6 million, then that's definitely a bit of a problem. And you certainly cannot have that going on for the Bruins. He's making more money than David Pastrnak. Robinson, Nečas represent different paths. Robertson would give the Bruins a lethal winger duo, elevate the offense instantly, but might not be available unless Dallas does indeed choose to make a drastic move. Nečas might be the most attainable option. Skilled, fast, still developing forward, who could thrive with the bigger role in Boston. The Bruins' next move depends on how bold they're willing to be and how much of their future they're willing to risk to retool fairly quickly. First, though, they really need to get this coaching situation under wraps. They're apparently nearing the conclusion of their head coaching search, with 3 primary candidates emerging, like I said off the top. Marco Sturm, Mitch Love, and Jay Leach. Reports indicate the team is expected to announce their head coach pretty much imminently following final interviews, which were reportedly undertaken last week. Sturm appears to be the front runner. Of course, a former Bruin, been an assistant coach with the Kings before taking the helm of their AHL affiliate. His familiarity with the Bruins and his coaching experience make him a strong candidate. Mitch Love, currently an assistant with the Capitals, also in contention. Head coaching stints with the Flames AHL affiliates, where he earned back-to-back league most outstanding coach honors. Jay Leach served as an assistant for the Bruins. He's another finalist, deep ties to the organization, and was the head coach of the Providence Bruins assistant coach. But maybe DeBoer and Donskov, with reports suggesting they could be made available after that calamitous end to their season. Donskov, an assistant, DeBoer, the head coach. No concrete evidence linking them to the Bruins' current search, but why else is there a delay? The Bruins are poised to make a decision between Sturm, Love, Leach, each bringing unique strengths to the table. Announcement of a new head coach is anticipated soon, maybe as early as tomorrow. And that could be a domino leading towards some more moves via trade and then a draft free agency. I'll keep you abreast of all of these developments. All you have to do is subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. I urge you to check out the Locked On Game Night podcast as well. Every game, every night, analyzed until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Please do take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.